Good morning, my fellow cardboard crack fiends, and welcome back to Decktech-Time with yours truly. Today we're having a look at something quite sneaky. You'd think it would be a 4 colors minus black deck, but it is in fact a WUBRG deck. That's right, Ink-Treader Nephilim, a card that I've long thought should be legendary, but it isn't, is teaming up with Sol Advocate Eternal, a card from the what's it called? The Heroes of the Realm series that are technically not available to the public, but luckily proxies are a thing, so here we go. This guy lets any other creature be your commander as long as it pairs up with Sol. We're not really going to be using Sol, we're just using it as a stepping stone for us to actually have the Ink-Treader Nephilim as our commander, and also gaining access to that lovely black color. And what Ink-Treader Nephilim does is that whenever a player plays an instant or sorcery, if Ink-Treader Nephilim is the only target of that spell, we copy that spell for each other creature that spell could target, and each copy then targets a different one of those creatures. So yeah, what we want to do is just ensure that there is a bunch of creatures on the board and that we get the most out of every single little instant and sorcery we play, and there's a lot of them. There's only a handful of creatures in this deck, so without further ado, let's take a look at them. We've got Sol, and yeah, it probably won't even hit the field. We've got a Niv Elemental, which is very fun. It's a 1-drop, 1/2 that has exile an instant or sorcery spell you control. Put 2+1 counters on Niv Elemental. What we want to be doing is that if we're playing some sort of destructive board wipey type of thing, well, it becomes a board wipe because of the copies, then all the creatures that we don't want to kill, we just exile that instant or sorcery from the stack and put +1 counters on the Niv. It's a very nice little backup thing. Got Young Pyromancer. We're going to be playing a lot of instants and sorceries, so this is a great way for us to have more creatures. Got Soulfang Grandmaster, a great little life linker that can give our instants and sorceries life link. We have a few spells that actually deal damage, so that is relevant. However, the main reason this one is in here is because it's got the last ability, which lets us put instants and sorceries back into our hand when they resolve, which is nice. We've got Witherbloom Apprentice with all the copies that we're going to be making with the Ink-Treader Nephilim. This Magecraft ability can go absolutely bonkers. That is a lot of life we're draining away from people. Sedgemoor Witch is phenomenal in that it will gain us a bunch of creature tokens whenever we copy or cast instants and sorceries, and also has wards, so that's nice. Got Monastery Mentor, another great way for us to get a bunch of creatures out. It doesn't trigger on copies, but still it triggers on instants and sorceries and gives them prowess. Feather the Redeemed is a nice way for us to get more value out of our instants and sorceries that we target our own creatures with. Is that lovely? Stormkiln Artist. I mean, yes, we're going to be casting and copying instants and sorceries, so why not get treasures out of it? Zada Hedron Grinder is a nice little backup we've got if we don't have the Ink-Treader out. We can definitely also get some copies off with Zada. We've got Talryn Sky Summoner. It's a shame that they put it in all the Masters sets, but it's still a good card for what we want to do here, which is create a bunch of creatures. Got Elemental Expressionist. Now this is a fun one. It has Magecraft, and what it does is choose target creature I control until end of turn. It gains if this creature would leave the battlefield. Exile it instead, and instead of putting it anywhere else, and you get a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. Now we have a bunch of spells that essentially are either going to destroy or bounce creatures, and if we can get a bunch of elementals out of those instead of them leaving or dying, isn't that better? I think it is. Got Professor Onyx, mainly just here for the Magecraft ability, because holy shit, that is a lot of life gain and life drain, so that's lovely. Got Assemble the Legion, probably the only gem we've got in here that will, if it's left unchecked, provide us with a great army that we can either kill people with or get a bunch of value out of. Got Genesis Chamber. Mostly it's here to pump up my opponent's boards, because as you've already seen all the creature spells that this deck actually plays, so we're not going to get a whole lot of mirrors out of this one. but the opponents are going to get them, and then those creatures will also get hit by our spells. Speaking of, we're moving into them. First up, we've got creature generating value spells. This one can kill small things, but what we're mostly here for is generating a bunch of little green saplings. This one does the same, just with rats. This one kind of has to have the creature die, but there's plenty of ways for that to happen. And if the creature dies, well, then we get a replacement 3/2er instead, so that's cool. Got Luxurious Libation, which is can be a magnificent pump spell, but we're mainly going to use it for just to generate a bunch of citizen tokens. Got Make Your Mark, another one that requires a creature to die, but if it does, we get a 3/2 spirit instead, so that is a lovely trade. Spawning Breath deals a little bit of damage, so maybe it'll kill something, who knows, but what we're here for is those Eldrazi spawns that we can even use to generate mana, so that's lovely. Also, beautiful foil, wouldn't you say? Startle is a great way for us to instantly debuff an alpha swing, and we also get some zombies out of it, and we can draw cards. It's all we could ever want for. Renegade's Getaway, we can make something indestructible, probably creatures, and we get colorless servos. That's lovely. Heat Shimmer is a fantastic way to just make a copy of every single creature on the board, basically. Holy shit, that's good. Make Mischief, we can deal a bit of damage, and we get a Devil token, so that's lovely. Blot Out the Sky is phenomenal in this deck because we've only got 2 non-creature permanent spells in here, so we can just wipe the board of all sorts of pesky planeswalkers and enchantments and artifacts and battles, for that matter, and get a bunch of Inkling tokens, so that's lovely. Got Croaking Counterparties. Great way to get copies of every single creature on the battlefield. It's phenomenal. A Ganju Uprising is phenomenally good for this deck. We can create an army for ourselves, and we give each opponent an almost as big army, and then hopefully if I have 1 or 2 mana left to cast something to get a huge payoff of all those creatures being targeted. Got Mythos of Illuna, great way to probably get some creatures, get some what's it called, some copies of some creatures, but we can also copy other permanents, so that's very versatile. Revenge of the Drowned, great way for us to clear the board and get a new army instantaneously. Got Ether Mutation, returns a creature to its owner's hand, and we get a bunch of saplings. Doesn't work well with tokens, but apart from that, is phenomenal. Involuntary Employment is great for snatching one or all the creatures for the turn, depending on if we have our commander out or not, and get a bunch of treasures. Traitorous Greed, much the same, only we have to spend the mana right then and there. Exert Influence, a great way for us to take control of all but the priciest of creatures permanently. Tamiyo's Safekeeping, good for us if we want to keep something safe, and we gain a bunch of life. That's lovely. Dark Dabbling, another great way for us to keep our creatures alive and to draw cards, so that's cool. Deadly Derision, also lovely foil, killing a creature or planeswalker and getting treasures. What's more? What's not to love? Flesh Allergy can really be a finisher in here. In that we sack 1 creature and then destroy target creature and its controller loses life equal to the number of creatures put into all graveyards from the battlefield this turn. It gets really tricky if we also have a bunch of creatures, because we're also going to lose some life when we eventually get to us. But if we stack the triggers so that we hit our own creatures first, then probably we're going to be fine. But then every single time one of the opponent's creatures dies, oh, they're going to feel the burn. Turn into a pumpkin, great way to bounce something. Mostly we're going to do to creatures, but we can also bounce non-land permanents, so that's good. And we draw cards, and if we have enough blue mana, we can even get a food token, so that's nice. Contract Killing, destroy a creature, get 2 treasures, what's not to love? Wait for a snack can really hurt someone. Bounce a creature, bounce all their creatures, and they lose either 1 or a lot of life. first volley does much the same in that it deals 1 damage to a creature and then 1 damage to their controller. So yeah, I do not remember the English name of this one, but it's an instant that says that until end of turn, all the lands that you control tap for mana of any color, which is great when you have 5-color deck. Got Path to Exile, can really just clear the board and ramp everyone basically, so that's nice. Sudden Breakthrough, a great little pump spell, but we're mostly here for the treasure, which is lovely. Farseek for a little bit of ramping. Swell of Growth is going to be phenomenal. A lot of our cards are going to draw us an insane amount, so being able to play a bunch of lands in one turn is fantastic. Flick a Coin, it draws us a card, it treasures tokens us, and it deals 1 damage. I mean, what's not to love here? Journey of Discovery can let us play some of all those extra lands we draw, or find some extra lands, or do both if we entwine it. Scale the Heights is another great way for us to play additional lands, but it also draws us a card, gains us life, and puts a +1 counter on a creature. So damn good. Depths of Desire, we bounce a creature and get a treasure. What's not to love here? Expedite, just here for the draw power really. Renegade Tactics, much the same. Defiant Strike, also just a cheap ass draw spell in here, and Fleeting Distraction can draw us cards and can actually also save us by diminishing the power of the creatures. Fist of Flame draws us a card, and then if we really want to swing out, we can really do some giant pumps if we stack the triggers correctly. Then Fire or Ice, or Fire and Ice, we can deal some damage, which is nice, but we can also tap target permanent and draw a card, so that's really nice and versatile. Depose and Deploy, tap target creature, draw a card is probably what we're going to do the most, but we can also get some Thopters for more targets and gain life, so that's nice. Got Plunge into Winter to tap a creature, scry, and draw a card, all for 2 mana. It's very good in this deck. Crippling Chill really puts a lockdown on some things, gives us a bit of respite, and draws us a card. Fortifying Draught, you gain 2 life, then target creature gets +X until a turn where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Can you imagine hitting a board of, I don't know, say in total there's like 20-25 creatures in play? If you stack the triggers right, you are ready to kill someone. Lightning Helix for that lovely damage and life gain, and we've got a Source of Lifelink for our instants and sorceries, then this will gain us 6 life for just 2 mana, 6 times however many creatures it can hit. Dramatic Rescue, yes, please return target creature to its owner's hand. You gain 2 life. It's fantastic. Essence Extraction, Agonizing Siphon, and Smiting Helix all deal a bunch of damage and gains us a bunch of life, and Smiting Helix even has flashback, and really no reason to go over the lands. It's a bunch of filtering lands and triple lands and dual lands and whatnot to help us get there with the mana as soon as we can. That is the deck. I love it to bits. I love playing it, and I love seeing the absolute outrage in people's faces when I get to do all sorts of shenanigans for such a low mana cost. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you stay frosty.